Welcome everyone to this week's research seminar. Today we are welcoming Anna Tyllström, who will talk about her ongoing project, The Social Life of Elite Students, Early Socialization Tactics in Top Business Education. And before I give the word to Anna, I would like to just say a few words about her to those of you who don't know her. So Anna is an associate professor at the Department of Business Studies at Uppsala University. She's also an active researcher here at the Future Studies. She is an organizational theorist working on themes like lobbying, corporate influence on politics, political consulting, corporate networks, and the construction of expertise. And she has published in many high-ranking journals, such as Organizational Studies and Socioeconomic Review. So her work on these topics has been quite influential, I should say. Before I give the word to Anna, I would also like to say that Anna will do a presentation, and then we will have a discussion. If you would like to ask clarifying questions, you can do that during the talk, I think. But questions for discussion we'll leave to after the presentation. So I very much look forward to listen to this talk.
Thank you. Yeah, it was funny reading the presentation. It said that I was famous for my works, and I'm not. I don't feel famous. And I'm also doing something that I've never done in this seminar, is to bring very unfinished work, ongoing work in progress, ongoing analysis. And normally I've presented more like finished work here and taken that type of thing with my discipline. But this is cross-disciplinary work, and we're really struggling. So, and I think my co-authors are here online, so they will also listen in. Social Life of Elite Students, Early Socialization Tactics in Top Business Education. By all means, a preliminary title. So I think I've dragged all of you through the story of this project, or these 4 different projects that is kind of like a program, so I won't spend much time on it. We've been funded by RJ, VR, Handelsbanken, and the Crawford Foundation from 2018, different grants. It's me and Nils Gustafsson Romås, who's in strategic communication in Lund, Sofia Wojtyw, who is late coming here, network sociologist at Stockholm University and here. Gergely Farkas was a network sociologist joining us in the beginning and designing the project. Not anymore. Kari Hammar was very active in the first 4 years. Mina Persson and Tove Samuelsson have worked with us, and we have several like Finnish students and political science students from Gothenburg coming in. Other authors, like it's a multidisciplinary bouquet of beautiful flowers, not always so orderly. Also in this paper, I have Lovisa Ek and Josefin. Are you with us on internet? 2 of my master's students from Uppsala University who actually did their master's thesis within this project last year. So what we've done, me and Nils, who are co-authors on this paper, is that we've taken their thesis and then the structure of their thesis and added a lot of data and changed the questions and like remodeled it so that you know that we're building on each other's work here. So the data in the total project is, we look at 4 cohorts of students in 4 schools: Stockholm School of Economics, Hanken School of Economics in Helsinki, and University of Gothenburg School of Business, Economics and Law, and KTH School of Industrial Engineering. And we followed 4 cohorts, total cohorts at these schools. And we survey them with this huge network survey with too many items, and have been struggling, as everyone else, with response rates, but got pretty good data for some years. Have 140 interviews with 78 individuals, randomly sampled from the beginning, but we followed quite a few individuals through the course of their studies. And the original aim of this project was to analyze the social lives of business students and look at what role students' social lives during studies play for their long-term career outcomes. We haven't really come to the long-term career outcomes since they just graduated, the first students, but we will get there. And we had a special focus in the initial application on gender and social networks. And now we have like so many ongoing papers. These are some examples. It just got out in Political Behavior last week on whether peer socialization in elite schools foster political attitudes, because in the States, maybe we heard of this, like there is this hegemonial idea that people go to university and become more liberal. It's like a liberalization thing happening out of socialization. And we've run this on our data, and we see that this is not the case in Scandinavia, not at all. So either people are more similar in the beginning, so they don't socialize each other into becoming more like each other, or there are other things going on, but there is not much changing in these students' political values and attitudes during the 3-4 years they go to school. We have one paper called the working papers, working title Aristocracy or Meritocracy. We compare the elite student identity construction at Stockholm School of Economics, which is like a very meritocratic Americanized school, or at least they claim to be, and Hanken School of Economics in Helsinki, like a school who don't at all have these ambitions. I mean, they're like the career outcomes for these two groups are quite similar, but these people are a lot less stressed, and they are very open with, like, all their families have gone to Hanken, like their older siblings have gone to Hanken. It's non-problematic, this kind of aristocratic idea of eliteness. Mom and dad networks, we've analyzed, Gerge has a paper on the role of external support networks of elite business students, like who outside the school do students socialize with and get resources, social or financial, from. And we have literature reviews, different COVID-19 analysis. This turned out to be a field experiment because all the social interactions changed abruptly in year 2 and year 3. We have different networks paper on, like Sophia's writing on homophily and these classical network variables. This paper, though, is about the early socialization tactics, like in top business education. And we have some is qualitative and focus only on the first semester. So we have some kind of conceptual points of departure. Of course, socialization, like the process by which people gain knowledge, skills, and dispositions that make them efficient members of a group or a society. Like you learn the ropes of an institution. We have network theory. How many of you are familiar with network theory? A bit. Yeah. So okay, we care a lot. Many people care a lot, but it's the foundation of it is a Nobel. It's not the Nobel Prize, but it's a Nobel Prize in economics winner Mark Granovetter, who wrote this paper, "The Strength of Weak Ties," and maybe you've heard about that. It's like basically an idea that resources will fare better and more resources will come to you if you both have very strong ties, very close friends, but also diverse ties, weak ties into networks that you don't normally socialize with. And people who are between different networks can be called brokers. There's structural holes, and they can profit a lot from connecting different networks. Classical measures like network centrality, how central are you, homophily, how much sameness is observed in these networks. So that is an important idea. Of course, elite education, Bourdieu is the main reference here, studying elite educational schools, institutions as transmitters of social and cultural capital. And there's also this educational socialization literature um, saying that academia, when a person comes into academia, they learn both academic norms and social norms. And these are not always connected. So this is the one model is from 1989. Is a diamond model, as we call it, of undergraduate socialization. So you have like the student coming in, their background. This is like everything that is supposed to affect socialization. Student background, characteristics, where they come from, what kind of goals they have. They have a normative pressure maybe to go to a certain college. They come to a college, this is American, so they come to university, and they have this academic normative context with a lot of academic norms and rules and curricula presented to them, and they have this social setting that they are immersed in. And then you have of course, different groups, extracurricular activities like student unions, and you have peer groups. You have the outgroups that we said, like the people who are outside the college or the organization influencing, and sometimes these are the same as the parents, because the parental status is supposed to influence. And socialization outcomes here could be aspirations, values, career choices. We looked at values, as I said before, and we see that they travel through they're quite the same after. But our whole project is a little bit about that, and a lot here about the social processes happening. And previous research here, I had a discussion here in the lunchroom. I don't want to say with which philosopher, but they said that they had data, and it was like the empirical phenomenon they were reasoning about. So I was like thinking about writing hypothesis here, because I'm a qualitative researcher, so I can't really say I have hypotheses, but these are kind of hypotheses. So in economics, there's been research looking at peer networks, and they seem important in elite education for long-term career success, and especially so in business studies. So this Chicago economist has looked at the premiums that you are given as a professional from going to a top school compared to a second or third ranked school. And it's much greater in business, where networks are important, previous networks, than, for example, engineering or medicine. So if you have gone to Örebro University as a doctor, you will not get penalized for that compared to a KI doctor in the same way as like if you're from Högskolan i Skövde or like Högskolan i Väst maybe, as a business student compared to Gothenburg University. So the premiums are more varied, and he says that this is because of peer networks. Organization sociology have said that proactive newcomers get better networks. So when you come to, this is for all organizations. So if you come to an organization and you're proactive in looking up good, like a lot of different friends, and you're proactive in your networking, you also get better networks and you get better outcomes. You stay longer, there's a longer retention in the organization, and you like it better. You're more satisfied. We've seen also that women seem to develop different types of networks and experience proactivity differently in organizational network sociology. So women tend to separate their networks, like they have one professional network considering or composed of men and women together, and whereas men have these more mixed. These are older studies, but also there's kind of a lot of studies saying that women coming in to organizations and experience the stress of networking much more, and like as a heavier burden than men. This is from physics didactics. Finding is a guy in Uppsala who looked at social networks. That's the thing with social networks, it's applied all over. The first months in higher education, and he has seen that you have to be socially integrated. And this is to stay in university. You have to be both academically and socially integrated. And there's also some studies from this part of academia showing that most networks in elite education are formed during like the first or 2 months. So like this seems to be something seriously important going on, like maybe the first few weeks of education, which have very long-term consequences. In educational sociology, there's this proposition that elite institutions are more total in their socialization. They do more of it. You have to spend more time there, and you have to be more both academically and socially involved. There's a comparative study of elite students compared to non-elite students, and or like non-elite universities. And non-elite universities, typically their students work more extra, stay at home, or like have other or like things going on, maybe do several educational programs at one time, whereas I think it's Oxbridge in this case requires of students to completely immerse in what is the university with both academic and social dimensions. So in our research question in this paper is like, how do students act and reason about their social life during the first months of higher education? From all these snippets of hypothesis or previous literature, we went in with this question in this specific paper. The data we took was the interviews that we had with first year students, 17 women and 21 men from all schools. We removed the latest, the COVID cohorts to remove those effects, because those interviews were a lot about COVID, and we wanted to see like the classical case. These are, we call them semi-structured interviews, but they're very structured. So all these 140 cover a certain number of items, 24 items, and then there are elaborations, but they're quite structured. And we performed what we call abductive thematic analysis, going from quite a deductive interview template, coding rudimentary codes, and then having inductive codes coming from that. Came up with 12 themes, 38 sub-themes, and through a matching and pairing coding process, which is very long. I will not go into the details. I would love to, but it's difficult. We came up with like 4 types of socialization tactics, or different type of groups of behaviors, you can say. When you say tactic, you want to believe that it's a strategy. It's not always a strategy, but it's different groupings of behaviors. And they're arranged along this axis between students who have a social focus primarily and academic focus primarily, and these are all in very high-ranked schools, so you can expect students to have to at least take a stance towards both of them. So on the very end here, we have the super-strategizers. They're not many, but they're extreme. I will go into each of these groups. The second strategy we find, or tactic, is the balancing tactic, which is the absolute majority. I think it's like 21 out of the 38 students are placed in this category. We have the swotters, like plugghästar, and the far right end of the spectrum. Quite a few. 7 or so. I think there's 6 here, 21, 7, and loaning. also the loaning tactic. People who for some reason during the first semester, these are all first semester students, do not socialize at all and completely focus on the academic ones. You can say that there is certain type or characteristics that is valid for all types. Like there's great anticipation of most students to before they start. It's not like they a strökurs or like a random course that they just do to get, most of them at least, not to get allowance. Like there is great expectations when you start a business program. So these are all program students, like a business and economics, civilekonom program. There's not much intellectual motive to study. So some people studying other parts of the academic sphere find that this is actually like a variable that you can look like. You want to learn more like history of ideas. People like do it for general education. They just want to learn very, very little of this in this material. They are instrumental. The education is a means to an end. They want to have a good career and have success. That is common for all of them. There's a great awareness in this group of the cultural norm of usefulness of networks. Everyone knows that at least there is a norm that you should get networks. And there's socio-economic homophily. These are, I think we have 2 working class students in this whole sample, random sample. 3, maybe. And we will see gender homophily, like the tendency of men to hang out with men and women to hang out with women, and all, in different ways throughout the material. I will get there. So, if we start with the super-strategizing tactic, this is an AI-produced picture, so not to infringe on any material rights. They are super strategic about, allegedly, I mean, this is interviews of this, about the choice of education. Yeah, like after all, this is 3 years to build networks. And we have like 3 or 4 quotes on everything, so I won't get you through everything. The student union activities is like, that's actually the reason why I joined the initiation, mottagningen, or like inskolningen or insparken, to get a feel for who you can build alliances with. They are very, very occupied with getting to know many people. Mind you, these are people who have gone maybe 2 or 3 months into their programs. I could list very many names. Very many names. Oh, 150 people, 140? Yeah, I believe that. It is very many. And then another guy saying there's like and the whole cohorts are maximum 300. And in KTH 140. So, but in the business schools it's around 300. So, yeah, there's this the other guy saying there's like 100 people there, which I enjoy talking to, and perhaps hang out with 50 every now and then. These people circulate between groups, like we've been discussing. It's like, are they pollinating bees or parasites going around? I moved around and started to talk to people spontaneously like that, and perhaps left my group to join another. I tried to be very open in every single way so that it would be easy as possible to get to know more people, to see contact with as many as possible, so it gives exponentially more opportunities. These are 19, 20-year-olds. You try not to lock yourself to specific opinions. You tell things in an exciting and charismatic way, hopefully. Then just try to create added value for everyone involved in all moments. It is like different times of the day, different days in different groups. You know, try to create variation. Yeah. So maybe maybe there's nothing to it, like this is a person who just talks, but it's a recurring theme. They also claim to mediate resources. Like, I know a lot of people solely because of my instinct to want to get to know people, but a lot of friends tell me things like, hey Anders, could you put me in touch with this person, whatever place and company? So this is a person maybe I've gone like a few more months into the program. They go extremely, for our students, extremely low on academic stress. So it's not like this frenzy, I got a bad result on my exam, I'm going to retake it. God no, God no. If I get a pass, I let it go immediately. That's considered a success. Lars adds, there's a lot of people who experience a lot of pressure. There really is, which is really sad. But personally, I've never felt it. So it's like almost what Brian Otzi, this network sociologist, calls super connectors, like this Harvard Business Review type of broker, the ultimate broker between different networks. And they're very strategic already in the first weeks about this. Now we come to the balancing tactic. And I put a girl here. This is not AI, so you might have to edit this out if it's screened somewhere. I just took it. It's like work hard or play hard. Most students, this is the classical, the main type of student. They have great expectations on social life. They think peer contacts will mediate career success. So this is something that the super strategists and balancers have. They think that the education will lead to success, but the mediating factor is peer ties. Like, you need to socialize. For the other groups, they think that the academic achievement will get them success. So there is a strong belief that this is so. These are people you will study with for 5 years, that later will have similar jobs to one's own, are friends for life, your future bosses and colleagues. At least I want to connect and talk to as many as possible, so as to create possible large networks as possible, since this is what you want in the future. So this, they share that with the super strategist. But they experience considerable academic stress. So you come out of the exam and go, I don't know how that went. You're nervous, you check with people and don't get an answer. You know you cannot file a formal complaint, so that's tough. That's the toughest part. As a high achiever, I never failed an exam before in my life, or not having wanted to write one. But I have handed in 3 blank exams the first semester. So this is the classical case when you come to KTH or Stockholm School of Economics, that you've been the best and brightest of your cohort or of your class, and you're shocked. Like, this is the most normal response. But they also have great stress about networking. I pretty much think the stress comes from not doing it and knowing there will be consequences. I actually learned that here at the school, that networking has consequences. Before that, I thought it will work out. I got every single job I applied to before, like extra job. But now I'm starting to understand that social connections actually mean something. And then not networking or enjoying networking all that much is something that's not in my favor. They experience, there should be existential stress. There's also like the pressure and stress to become something and to be something. And that is not okay to be satisfied. That's what I find the hardest. So there are different types of stress, like merging into this like huge stress lump for these students. They join student activities a lot. And they also, unlike the super strategists, have this tendency to form close friendship ties, a close group of like 3 to 6 friends, and that is formed very early on during education. Often based on similarity. So this guy, for example, he explains how he met his friends. The background is that I sat by a table after a first diagnostic math test, which is like before you even start at Stockholm School of Economics, you have a diagnostic math test to like see if you need more math. Or it turned out that we grew up a kilometer apart in the western part of Gothenburg. Me and his sister had attended the same confirmation group, and we found it funny that he had a very similar name to mine, came from the same place in the same town, and never heard of each other before. He's 2 years younger than me, the same age as my girlfriend, and they know each other because they had a lot of friends in common. That contributed to us hanging out a lot during the first introduction week, only because of that. In his orientation group, there was this other guy that I hang out with now. He had the same life as me. So we found each other pretty quickly, and we're still kind of a duo. And this you see a lot, like it's an open window of socialization, if you will, like the first 2 weeks, like you come there and you're super open, but very quickly hone in on a few individuals and you fall basically in love with yourself. Like somebody who's the same of you as you, but we have so many of these stories like, oh, this guy, he had a grandfather who knew my grandfather in Jönköping. Like you just, there's so much similarity going on. And about the earliness of this group formation, it's like, well, I have this little gang, which oddly enough has been stitched together out of my orientations group, like the group that you were given the first week, without us being so active in shaping it. They balancers pair this small group of friends, core friends, with like a larger circle of acquaintances. So like we're a small group and maybe 10 in a bigger circle. We have extremely similar interests. We like to talk about the same things. We think it's very much fun just to be with each other. So it's like this dual social structure. Typical for them is also that the social energy wanes after a few months. Because they are so social in the beginning, they don't have the energy to keep it up. So these are different quotes saying that you like become lazy, you can't bear to be social every day and just and study. Like you have to choose. It would be wonderful if you could be with those you like and be happy like that. That's the only thing he wants. Then it was perhaps a little bit stressful at the beginning. Everyone was like this. You have to get to know as many people as well. But I don't think so anymore. So it's kind of like declines the energy and the stress. Yeah, and another one. Like I have an inner gang of 5 to 6 people, and then the outer gang of 10 to 15 people. Then it's much more mixed gender-wise and age-wise. And I can say that like most core groups are gender homophilous. So guys have people like other guys close to them, and girls have other girls close to them, and then they meet in mixed like larger settings when there are parties and stuff like that. The third, swotting tactic. These students tend to like, what happened here? Yeah. These are different people because they actually believe that academic achievement is what will get you success. They are primarily academically strategic, not socially. They only have a core group and not the wider group. They prioritize only their students, and very few of them are engaged in student union activities or claim that they want to be. On the other hand, they're not that stressed either. They take it easy with the social life in the beginning. Like, Sandra says, lecturers highlight networking all the time. So you can see that there's institutional socialization going on as well. But everything is still new. So now it's more like you hang out with those you enjoy hanging out with. So they really say like, I'm going to stick to the ones I know in the beginning, and then maybe later I'll get to know more people. I tell myself a lot that I want to wait it out so I see how school goes first before I make any social commitment. No, for me it's not irrelevant to get involved in the student union and so on. They told us how much time you had to spend each week, so I chose to exclude it and instead focus on my studies, being with my friends, and have fun in that way. And then they study completely on the academic achievement. I think myself, I perform better if I know that everyone else is studying too. Everyone else is struggling, so I really have to put in 120%. So it's very central, this academic achievement. Fourth strategy is this loaning tactic. Loaning students don't hang out with anyone, basically, like only what they need to do for necessity's sake. various rationales for that. Some say family obligations, maybe they study elsewhere. Even at those elite institutions, there are people who are studying double degrees. Some say that I'm depressed, I can't do it. Engage in no extracurricular activities and have a strict academic focus. So sure, there are the advantages of networking, Tom says, but I think the disadvantages are not that severe. Seriously, a degree will get you far. So they believe, or at least they want to believe, that there's a signaling value of this education. So just we have started to look at these different groups according to some structural dimensions like gender, ethnicity, and class. You see that men are completely dominating the two extreme groups. So only one girl super strategizing, only one girl is loaning, and the girls are crammed here in the middle. And we, as I said, working class students, we don't have so much data on this, but like there are few of them, I think maybe 2, and only 3 students of non-European descent here, and these are all in the swotting and loaning groups. There are some reflections. I will take this in Swedish, but I'll bring them up. I can try to directly translate it. So this is a male student at KTH. When you're going into a seminar, there's like many groups presenting, and it's really divided. That's the girl group, and that's the immigrant group. And then there's more like maybe intermixing than I give impression of, but it's more apparent when you see 4 groups with only guys, and then there's a group with only girls. So these are just quotes where like students themselves are reflecting on these groupings. Then there are those who, like we from the hood, we from förorten, or have immigrant background, we prefer to stay together. But then there are also those who hang out with all type of different people. I think he's alluding to the super strategists, the super connectors. They're very nice, but they're like people who have many friends, and they're not so close to one group, but they have many friends. I'm a person who likes a small circle with close friends. I'm that kind of person. So there's personality going on and some structural thing going on with ethnicity as well. And then there are those who don't have close friends but many friends, and they can hang out with anyone. And then there's the upper class who prefer to stay together. And I think that's like in all these 4 schools, that's a group. Yeah. Now, what to make of this? I thought you'd help me. Because like publishing and writing this up is like cross-disciplinary narrative. Screw you. Like we have earlier theory from organization theory, social psychology, physics, didactics, network sociology. We have different backgrounds from management, sociology, political science, and a lot of this is in higher education. So like, who would care and who can we talk to? What is the framing we should have? Because we could frame it. We have come up with different framings. So qualitative moorings of network analysis, gender in higher education has been discussed, student attrition studies, student retention, like what makes people actually stay in higher education, because we have that data outside of this data set. Elite formation and socialization, like what does it matter to look at, and we know that these people will be an elite in Sweden someday, like what does it matter which friends they choose? So any input, welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. So the discussion will start now. The first 30 minutes of the discussion will be recorded, just so you know. So we have a system here for the discussion at Future Studies. And if you want to raise a new question, you raise your hand. And if you want to just add something to the ongoing discussion, you raise a finger. And then you don't have to wait until it's your turn. And yes, I think that's yeah. And also for those of you who are online, I think that we will also let you in. Julia will let you in. Okay, so we begin here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Such an interesting, exciting material.
Thank you.
I'm not a sociologist, I'm a media scholar, but I'm interested in the notion of networking and networks. And I wonder about, like, is it only quantity that counts here, like in terms of extensive networks, or is quality also a factor here? Because, and I also wonder, like, have you asked them not only about how they network, but also why? I mean, because to me it seems that, like, strategic networking is very different from forming friendships. And does it really go without saying that having extensive networks of contacts is necessarily better for your career outcomes than having, like, a smaller circle of closer friends? And also, I mean, when they network, how strategic are they really in terms of who they network with? Thank you.
So, a question to this material or in general, like
Yeah, but, I guess this material.
like Sophia, do you want to say something about generally, like about the quality and the
This type of question is one of these central social network analysis questions. Is this the mere, like, frequency of interaction with a lot of people, or is it like strategic, like finding the right person at the right place? And what is interesting in our material, and also what we see in the quantitative section of this project, is that there is this institutional pressure of having a lot. And we can see it when we compare different schools, like the amounts of like the difference of handles in comparison to like KTH. We can see some institutional differences. And as Anna showed this quote about the lecturers saying that you should network a lot, so there's a big pressure on the quantity. But then, of course, there's also quality, and we saw some in the quantitative stuff that, you know, these emotional connections. We asked people, okay, out of these friends that you named, who are the ones that you could actually rely on in a crisis? Who would help you if you have a problem? Who do you think will become a future CEO? These kind of things. And then these tend to be, like, there is this double notion there as well, right? This first circle that also Anna showed in the qualitative section, that there is this inner circle of these emotional close friends, what you're saying about, like, friendship. But then there is a larger circle of these more instrumental friendships that, you know, I think, I don't know, Anders B will become a CEO, and you know, that's basically why I'm hanging out with him. So it's there's a duality to these friendships, and it's difficult to figure out which one is, you know, like, I am like specifically interested in this particular person, and that's why, like, because they will become something, or is it just a pure friendship? And then there is the structural thing of an institution, and then your personal personality features. Difficult question. I'm sorry.
it is a difficult. If I can add on to that, like, we don't have the outcome variables of what we consider success, which is basically position and salary. Very blunt instruments to measure success. So we don't know. But I have seen cases with people who just stick to very few, like only one best friend in group, but he's super strategic in. He cuts across a lot of. I guess he would, like, identify as, or we would put him in the balancing group. But, like, he has one best friend, and they together choose to go to a certain student union activity, like with the financial things, so that, or entrepreneurial things, and they go there, and then they get introduction to, like, oh, this girl, like this girl in this in the entrepreneurial committee, her father turned out to be an investor, and he joined the board of their company that he formed, but like student-wise and socially only hung out with this other guy, but they forced themselves to go out of that bubble to get these instrumental things. So that's like and they got funding for their company. So if we follow up in 10 years, maybe we can see what's like a quantity and quality approach. Also depends on like this physics study or physics didactics study from Uppsala. They looked at the social and academic integration of students, and they show that like as a student, if you want good grades, you should be completely academically integrated, like know the academic norms, but it's best to have a non-central position in the social network, which is like, it goes without saying, you shouldn't be at Värmlandsnation like every night if you want a good grade in physics. On the other hand, if you look at career outcomes after 10-15 years, I'm not so sure that like what we consider success there is correlated with good grades or this like peripheral position. Did I answer? Yeah. Thank you.
Valdemar is next.
Thank you. I would like to ask a clarification about one outlier, namely the Hanken School of Economics. It is a Finnish school of economics, and to boot, it's also a school of economics that's catering to a sociolinguistic minority with some perceptions in Finnish society that this is a particularly aristocratic part of that society. Did you notice any differences in the networks of those students? Did they accentuate the characteristics you found in other networks, or was it not applicable?
In this qualitative material, not so much. Except for the length of interviews. The first interviews we get back, completely structured interviews, mind you. We sent it to Finnish, Swedish assistants. They came back and they were 18 minutes long, the recordings, or 20. So they don't talk so much as we do. Ours was like on average 45, and then we like had to work with it because they just answer the question. But in terms of this, like the balancing strategy, we didn't find that much. They have a core group and then the bigger outer group. Do we have any quantitative differences?
When it comes to this one paper that you have in this one paper where we try to look at like the networks of all schools, and then we try to figure out if these networks are mostly instrumental or emotional or expressive. All the schools, there is no difference between schools. It's one of the major issues that explain most of stuff is gender and gender homophily for all schools. There is, of course, differences in like numbers of social network, like the degrees, so how many friends on average people have in different schools. But when it comes to these more like, questions of strategy and like the quality of friends or whatever, there is not so much difference that we can see, which is really interesting.
They're a lot less stressed though. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing. Like, but that is like what I mentioned with this like aristocratic frame. I had this quote like this existential stress. Like this Stockholm School of Economics girl, she says like, "I'm never enough." Like knowing that I'm never enough is so stressful, and that is not present in the Hanken students at all. Like they are enough. They feel sufficient to a greater extent.
Yeah, out of like in comparison to all the Swedish schools, Hanken is the least stressed about grades and social life.
Are you
Thank
happy
you.
with that response, Valdemar?
Yes.
Mhm.
So then Stina is next.
Thank you so much for this, Anna. It was very interesting. And I think my question was kind of raised a little bit by Kari, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, or maybe in another way. So I was just thinking of concerning these tactics. If there seems to be a sense in which students kind of pick tactics based on like a deliberate kind of choice, where they think that, you know, this tactic is what's going to lead me to success, or if they choose it based on like what they think that they are good at, and or maybe a mix. So would there? So you mentioned with the loaning, at least one
Yeah.
student had said that like they had depression, and that seems to be like, then it's not really a choice of tactic, but it's just kind of the only thing that they can do. And like, was there something similar with the other extreme, where some of these what are they called, super strategy, were they like in some sense thinking that they couldn't get the best grades? There was no point for them to kind of engage in this kind of or just putting all their money, so to say, into the into their studies, because they won't succeed in that, so they pick socialization instead because that's what they're good at. So yeah, I was just kind of, if you could say something more, if there's anything from the interviews concerning this kind of the question of why one tactic is chosen, and if it's chosen because of as a strategy, or just because it's like that's what I'm good at. Thanks.
Yeah, that is a problem. We've been discussing this word with strategy and tactics in business and organization theory. It's like what I said in the beginning is basically used to describe a pattern, like a group of patterns, or a pattern of behavior, like mixed. But pattern of behavior for different archetypical patterns of behavior is so difficult. But I would say it's not conscious choice. Yeah. And definitely the super strategizers are, I would say, I mean, they're very few, but randomly sampled. And they are very smart. Like, maybe not socially, but like they don't have this. That's my impression, that they think the students are, or like the studies are not as difficult. That's my main impression. Of course, with the loaning strategy is more a pattern of behavior, because we see this pattern, and of course you can switch maybe between years. Like a student can be super social in the beginning and maybe go into loaning, swotting in certain parts of the study. We only looked at first year students. It is a problem with the loaning. I don't know, he's depressed, but he also missed orientation. And if we would have an hypothesis, is like being active the first 2 weeks is really important for the social integration. And he missed that. And there are several people who missed that. So like he went to another program, and then he got in on a reserve list to this program, and then he joined to, so he felt that everyone, as you said, they had paired together already. Like, it happens very quickly, this social mass of events in the beginning.
I think, of course, there is a lot of personality things there, but we must take into account the fact that these schools are insanely promoting networking from institutional side. So all these students they are put in this context where they have to relate somehow to networking very consciously. They hear it at the lectures, they read about it, and their like free time. And then we can also see that some schools are maybe more pushing the networking stuff. Like in the quantitative data for Handels, for example, we can see that for the first year students, they feel that there is they feel stressed about the amount of social activities that they have to do. So there is this, it sort of like hints to the fact that they relate that social stuff is really, really important. But then maybe there's a personality thing. Well, I don't know if I can do it. I'd rather study, but you still think about it. You're sort of put into the situation where you must evaluate if you have to network or not. So in that sense, these strategies can also, like, they are kind of strategies because the networking is so explicit. It's an explicit norm for all these schools.
Yeah, and yeah, as they are elite schools, like they are exposed in business, they are exposed to these pressures of like the dual pressures of academic, like complete academic and complete social, and like some you have to strike a balance somehow, or just choose to refrain and drop out. But few people drop out from these programs compared to other professional programs. But,
Erik is next.
Thanks. Very interesting. So, two comments. I don't know if they're helpful, but the first one is about this the strategizing or the choice or the socialization, I guess. So well, I mean, like Anna, I went to Stockholm School of Economics. My impression was that teachers did not push, at least as far as I can remember, did not push the socialization. They didn't push networking. They would like, okay, here I'm a statistics teacher. You guys do your thing. But there were, like, in the first 2 weeks, there were like former alumni and business leaders coming in and saying, oh, I remember my time here. It was so important. I still hang out with, or I still use my contacts from here. And so like there was the vertical transmission of these norms was strong in the first 2 weeks, but as far as I remember, it completely wore off after that. So perhaps you're picking up. So if you want to look at the effect of socialization, that might be something to think about. But I guess, and the other comment about the socialization into networking is like, there is of course the selection thing. Like, you don't go to these schools if you say, well, for me personally, going there, deciding whether to go there, on the negative side was that I foresaw that there would be networking, but I did go there anyway. And of course, some people go there because they like the network and they look forward to it. So that was about socialization into networking.
Yeah.
And then a more general question that just, I'm curious about your thoughts about how much of this is distinguishing because of it's a business-oriented education, how much is it because it's elite education, and how much is it because it's just an integrated program? Because I can imagine all of these things matter. Like, for instance, the fact that you know that you're going to be with these people for 4 years, you might have moved to Stockholm or Helsinki from another city. That already creates a certain pressure on networking and your strategies. And perhaps the quantitative data can help there as well. I don't know.
Yeah. So the two first things were comments, and they're completely valid. The last question was about whether we think it's business or it's elite.
Or a program.
Or a program. Like the emphasis on what you say, it is an organizational socialization, organizational pressure, and maybe not from the faculty, but it is a strong organizational for all this, and that's the same for all of them. But it's unusually strong because it's elite and business together, like the combination of business and elites compared to this, like the Zimmerman study looking at medical programs, for example. Those programs are not at all emphasizing these. You don't see the same effect. So I do believe the program question is really interesting. Like the general adherence to programs have gone down. Maybe it will change now with the new policy or politics, but the dropout rates from these programs has not changed. So we would have to look at that compared to other programs, other elite programs than like medicine or psychology or law. I would maybe in law you would have a similar thing, but I think the fact that business is really elite but does not have a formal license plays in. Like you don't get a professional, you don't become an engineer, you don't become a doctor, you don't become like a lawyer. You have to become something yourself. You have to position yourself like between a vast pool of like, are you becoming Stakabo or Alexander Bard or like this guy on TV or Peter Wolodarski? Like there's just like you haven't found your career path or like just because you get to a business school. so the becoming is not as, I don't know, we have engineering degree holders here, so, but it seems like they are actually a tad more more relaxed, the NDEC people, the KTH people, about that. It's not so much about like at the business schools, like there is this pressure of what Sophia said, I need to network even though I don't want to. The KTH is more like, I really want to run around in this overall costume and I really love it. They call me PowerPoint engineer because I'm an industrial engineer, but it's okay. We have our own overalls and like, but yeah, they're more relaxed towards the pressure. I don't know if that. Do you have anything to add on the quantitative?
Sorry, I'm taking over so much, but this question
good.
about selection is really interesting, and I think like that's also a key question of the project itself. We were trying to figure out, do people come into these elite business education already being something, and then they just go through it, get connections, or do they become something even though they came in very different? And now we just published with Hilma Lindskog, who's a PhD at Gothenburg University, this paper on political values and whether they change over time. Do they sort of conform into one type of attitude and so on? And we did not find anything. There was like they just came in as they were the same, and then they came out with the same political, at least, values. And we also know from previous studies that people who go into these elite business schools, at least, they tend to be on a slightly more conservative side in comparison to the majority students in different other programs. So they are a special case, and there's a lot of selection in it as well. But it's really interesting to figure it out, the mechanism of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we say like that is established that business students have different personalities than other students. I mean that like are more like score higher on the dark triad and narcissism, for example, like in general in the world. And I don't think our students are different from that compared to other students.
Okay. So I'm actually next on the list, and I have actually many questions, but I'm not going to ask them all at once.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask another question, but before I do that, I would like to ask a first small question, and it is, so when I heard about these schools as an outsider, I wasn't immediately aware of that all of these schools are considered elite schools. To me, it was like, yes, Handels, of course, is an elite school.
Yeah.
And Hanken, I don't know because it's not in Sweden. But the other two are not. It's not immediately obvious to me that for the public these are elite schools. What are your definitions of elite schools, and are the students? Do they feel that they are elite students, or that they are studying an elite education?
So that's a good point. There are three definitions, different. So there's like aristocratic definition, like you can be an elite school because you recruit elites, like Lundsberg, for example. You can get you can have like a meritocratic definition, which is like it's hard to get into. And by that, like the physiotherapy program at KI is very elite by that standard. And the third one is because it creates elite alumni. And sometimes those three are not correlated. We have chosen only the second admissions criteria. And these schools are, you see, only Handels and to a certain degree INDEC are elite by all these three standards. But all of them are hard to get into by the second criteria. But several of them are the Gothenburg school, Handelshögskolan only. Other business and economics, which is, I mean, you could do runner-up analysis on this because many people apply to Handels and they don't get in, and they get into Uppsala or Lund or Gothenburg or Stockholm. But when I ask my students, like Lovisa and Josephine, their classes, like, do you feel like elite? They say no. Like, we've never heard anyone tell us that we're elite. To me, it's like obvious that they are. Like when I see, or at least like the average, like career outcome to a certain extent, they occupy elite positions and are more influential than most people. Like in terms of like control over resources. That's the Sheamus Condit. The definition of elite is like a group that has disproportionate access to or control over resources.
So not even at Handels do they perceive themselves as elite?
Oh, Handels do.
Handels, yes.
Yeah,
Because
but the other schools, no.
Yeah, because I spent a year at Harvard as a PhD student, and it was very apparent there that the first year students were very consumed by, or they were like sort of integrating this elite identity into their into their personal identity, and this was like an ongoing work for the first year, trying to sort of deal with that. And would you say that that's the case at Handels, but not at the others?
At Handels, and that's why we made this like a comparison between the Valdemar raised Hanken, which is like most people. It is really like the first criterion. They're elite because they recruit an elite, and they do exist because they are elite. It is kind of difficult to get in. There are people who don't get in, but it's the requirements are lower, and there is a difference because they relax. Like once they got in, they relax, but at Stockholm School of Economics, there's more of this Americanized, high achieving, you can call it capitalist ideal, or like you should never relax in your identity. So if we ask them, we have asked them quite straightforward questions. Do you feel like a Hanken student? Do you feel like a Handel student? And the Handels people are like, it's very apparent that their identity or a sense of belonging is conditioned on academic success. I don't know yet because I haven't got the exams like back, the results of the exams. I don't know if this is my place yet, or like I don't know yet because I don't have any friends. I don't feel like. So this complete socialization is like a prerequisite, but it doesn't relax. So you have more like elements also of competition at Stockholm School of Economics, which I think is modeled on Harvard a lot, which is like you have to apply for different committees, like in the student union, and they interview you, and half of people don't get in. So there's like competition in every step, and you have to apply and compete for internships. And if you don't have certain internships in like in the financial business, the second year in London, you can't go to work. Like so, there's this. There are many mechanisms that are more Americanized of perpetuous contestation of identity.
Okay, so now here comes my real question. And it's that, so I was really fascinated by these gender differences in strategy or behavior. And it's kind of so typical in a way that the men are at the extremes. You find that in various contexts, that men are at the extremes. And I know that you don't have the outcomes yet in terms of labor market outcomes, but we do know that for various reasons, men tend to make faster careers, steeper careers. And I just thought that this would be something to look into and see if is there something better strategically about these extreme positions, or is it not? Or do men make it anyway for other reasons? And I think that there is an interesting literature that you're probably aware of, sort of around Lauren Rivera on elite and gender, which I think that's absolutely a good way to
position this. That's we've been many loops like it was a gender. The thesis that Josephine and Lovisa defended was a gender one, and then we have added data and like taken a greater distance to look at it and more. And I think we might circle back because it is a striking pattern.
And we have a question online, we think, or comment from Nils. Do you want to ask it?
Hi. No, maybe just to follow up. I'm one of I'm working with Anna in this project. Just about, outcomes. I think it is, and also talking about gender and outcomes and networks and outcomes as strategies. I think you also have to be aware of, when we started this project, we had a very, very simple idea about how to measure career outcomes. And as we have been conducting this project, it has become clear to us that what is considered a successful career outcome is different for different people. And there also seems to be gender differences there. So more men tend to have like very clear ideas about material wealth and achieving high positions in organizations, whereas women are also ambitious, but some of them have different goals with their lives. A lot more men are interested in going into finance than women, which will make them more economically powerful than women. But I mean, is that success? Are they more successful? Is it a more successful strategy? I mean, it also depends on what you're trying to achieve. And then when we're looking at what career goals do these students have, where do these career goals come from? Do they come from inside? Do they come from socializations? Does it come from, I mean, their backgrounds? So just a word of caution to how to go about career success in terms of networking tactics and gender. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't have any more people on the list. So, and I don't think there's anyone else online. So unless there's anyone else who has anything to add, I would like you to join me in thanking Anna for this super interesting talk. And before I let you go for lunch, I would like to say a few words about our seminars that are coming up soon. On November 13, we have Bo Rothstein presenting or giving a talk called "Should the Swedish Public Health Care be Nationalized? Consequences for Democracy, Legitimacy and Accountability." On November 20, we have Kari Andén Papadopoulos, who is here today, who will talk about justice by digital open source research, visual evidence and the limits of the legal regime of truth. And finally, on November 27, we will have Eres Magor, who will talk about Bidenomics, industrial policy, and the 21st century American development state. So we look forward to that. Thank you.